below zero hits us in life. Built for the cold, you say that ain't right. Too cold for the average Joe, just right for those who hear the show. In the image of greatness you were made, but taught by the world to be played. A new generation, we're building, no victims, we're creating. Them haters, keep hating, cause Gen Zero, we blazing. Too cold for the average Joe, just right for me and the listeners of this show, where we've been in a series called Separation Season. All separation season meaning that we don't let the excitement or it's the end of the year, the holidays, New Year's coming, postpone us willing to actually put a little extra effort into our goals while the rest of the world starts to take the last 2 months of the year off, slow down, take it easier, holiday parties, different things are all doing everything else. I'm not saying don't do that, by the way. I'm just saying do not let the gas off your focus. You can still focus intently, spend some time, have some fun, enjoy the holidays, take your couple days, weeks off if you need, but it's not 2 months. Remember that. And people right now that are not working as hard, right, are slowly falling behind already on their 2026 goals, right? While a few select people I know listening to this, many of you on the show listening to this, are doing those 1 to 2 things a little separate to separate yourself, whether it's your friends, whether it's your colleagues, doesn't matter. It's not about comparing yourself. It's about comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Okay? Are you better than that person? 1 to 2 things daily. So we talked about that. We talked about in the first episode of this how to handle adversity. Now, adversity doesn't have to be major life events. Adversity could be, hey, someone cut you off in traffic and made you 5 minutes late to work. Adversity could be, hey, my workout didn't go as planned. My adversity could be, hey, I got in a fight with a family member. It's like, how fast do you respond to that? Because if you continue to let that ruin your day, it eventually changes your mindset for the next couple of days and affects your entire week, which then affects your month. And then all of a sudden it's 2026 and you're like, well, why did I not accomplish as much over the last couple of months as I could have? You let one little thing deter you and all of a sudden it just popped into a habit, right? So that's the danger of what can happen if we let kind of doubt creep in, let drifting creep in, let all these things creep in, as referred to in a previous series that we had on not letting the 2Ds of doubt and drifting affect us as much and being able to overcome it. Otherwise, we can't really handle adversity. It becomes very hard to separate yourself if you can't even handle basic adversities of life. The second thing we talked about is we don't get in life what we want, we get what we accept. You never rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your ingrained systems you've accepted in your life. And if you don't have any systems, then there is no floor for how far you could fall if you do fall. I pray you don't, but a lot of people, it's not about whether you do it intentionally or not, it's what you have set up for in your life. And you fall to the level of your systems every single time. So today what we want to talk about is fear. And I think a concept around fear is that a lot of people don't really recognize what they're actually afraid of. Number one, I'm going to help you all with this right now. I heard this a long time ago, and I'm sure you've heard this acronym before. But what is fear? All fear is, it's false evidence appearing real. Because is it fair to say fear is just when you're afraid of something, it actually hasn't happened. So it's false evidence, what you've built up into your mind, your perspective around what you think to be real. Well, just because we think it's real, does that mean it's automatically true? Does that mean it automatically is the only perception to have? No, it doesn't. What I find also crazy is a lot of people have heard this saying many times, hey, the greatest fear of man is the fear to change. One of our greatest fears is like we fear failure. A lot of people have heard that before. I'm going to challenge that perspective a little today and argue that I think the biggest fear many of us have is we're actually afraid of success. We're afraid of success because we never put ourselves in the position to have the life that we want sometimes because our brain is wired for the least amount of risk. What's the least amount of risk? Well, playing it safe, doing what we've always done, living the status quo, just going about our days like everything else, and one day we'll eventually make it. That's why I truly believe no one really truly that I've seen of the people that have actually done something and actually made a name for themselves. Well, it's not even a financial success thing. It's not even a physique success thing. It's just anyone that's actually put themselves in a position to get as close to that result as they could. Right? They figured out how to hack their brain to figure out that chasing who they believe to be the most successful version of themselves was less risky than accepting where they're at. Right? And so because fear is false evidence appearing real, it's like, what are we making real? I think there's a pressure that comes with success, right? Many of you guys know my story. By no means, I think there's hundreds and thousands of people that have considered been way more successful than me at a lot earlier of an age, and it drives me. Like there's one gentleman, I'm not gonna name him on this podcast, but he motivates the heck out of me because he's making $1 million+ a year at 20 years old. Like has things that I wanted back then, but I just didn't have the coaching and the leverage and the opportunity then that he does. Could I be upset about it? Yeah. Could I be annoyed about it that someone else is like, a decade ahead of me in terms of where I wanted to be? I could. Or or I could learn from it. Or I could be thankful for God putting me in positions to build my character so that when I did get to that point in my mid 30s now, I'd be able to see a perspective that I'm not going to squander when those resources come. And I'm not saying, by the way, that this young gentleman is going to do that. I don't think he is, just based off his character. I pray everyone has success. I want people to be successful. See, that's the funniest part. When you get like, haters or people say, oh, you're trying too hard, you're working too hard, or why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It's never from people who are doing better than you. It never is. It's never from anyone that's actually been successful in business. It's never from people that are actually like really in shape in the gym, in the shape that you want to be in. It's always from the people that secretly, they'll never tell you, but they actually want what you have. And so by saying all these subtle little remarks, they're trying to drop you back to their level. It's a funny phenomenon how that works. But going on the standpoint of we fear success more than we do failure. Why is that though? Because I think sometimes the pressure that builds up from being successful per se is we put ourselves in a risky position to have a lot of pressure. And quite frankly, like success once or twice or 4 times, 5 times, 10 times doesn't guarantee future success. So what happens? You could have a business go absolutely amazing, and then all of a sudden it blows up in your face and you're deemed a failure. And then all of a sudden, who's to tell you, oh, I told you it wouldn't work. Oh, I told you it wasn't going to happen. Oh, I told you it wasn't going to be everything that you thought it was. And a lot of people can't handle that reality. So they actually fear putting themselves in a position to be able to have something like that. See, it's the greater the risk, the greater the reward. If you're not willing to embrace, right, the risk that comes with the reward, you'll never put yourself in a position to have it, right? And so a lot of people choose by default to play it safe. See, you can accept a lot of people don't like what they're doing. A lot of people don't like their day to day. A lot of people are living around with no purpose, but they still accept it because they've told their brain over and over again, because of their fear, that it's the least risky option to do. It's the least risky option to do. And if you want to be successful, you have to wire your brain for what's least risky. Are you absolutely willing to not accept where you're currently at? And if you're not willing to do that, then I just, I pray for you. I hope you find it eventually in yourself, but it just may never happen. And that's okay, but not for people on this podcast. Because I know the reason why you're still listening to me if I haven't offended you already. Just again, it's nothing that I'm saying, it's just the truth. So if you're offended by the truth, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if it doesn't offend you and you're motivated, here's some tactical steps on how to get around things. Okay. How do you actually face this fear? Well, you have to kind of evaluate in your mind. Number one, how well can I handle adversity, like we talked about? Number two, okay, I'm going to write this on the board here so you guys can see this. How well can I handle adversity? Okay. Number two, what am I actually willing to accept? What you accept. You get what you accept, right? That doesn't mean you have to hate your situation. Okay. You can be what Ed Milet calls blissfully discontent. Right? You can be blissfully discontent, meaning like, hey, you're thankful and grateful for what you have, but you're not willing to accept that, hey, who you are today is who you can be 10 years from now. Right? But again, the reason why I say this is because I see so many people when they think of like, oh, well, I'm not failing. Hey, I can just kind of do my thing and not fail. You know what the funny part about this is? The funniest part about like, hey, I can just kind of continue the way I've been going about things, that it's least risky, yeah, it would be crazy to put myself out there like that. What happens is failure is not something that's just like radical in front of us. It just like happens, right? This is what I refer to as drifting that we talk about from a previous podcast, right? Because it's actually failure by 1,000 cuts, right? What do I mean by failure? I am not saying like, I'm not looking at everyone around me and being like, oh, they're failing because they're not doing this. No, there's just so many things in life that we can determine what's failure and what's success. And I'm not here to debate what that is. I'm talking for yourself personally, because you're the one that has to look at yourself in the mirror every single night and tell yourself, hey, am I doing everything to put myself in the best position possible to be the better version of myself? Or am I failing at that? And if I'm failing at that, why? And if you can't answer that, start there. If you can't answer that, here's the next question for you. What opportunity am I missing out on because I'm not willing to overcome the selfish needs of myself? I'm not willing to overcome, maybe my bad eating habits. I'm not willing to overcome all my different activities that I do that actually distract me from my purpose. What are you doing? What are you losing out on opportunity because of your unwillingness to change basic things? But this is what happens. A lot of people, there will be people, and unfortunately, I've heard this story way too many times. All of a sudden, 20 years go by, and people only choose then to look in the mirror and see, I actually lived a life that others wanted me to live, or others told me I should live, or whatever, versus the life I actually truly wanted to live. By the way, number one regret of anyone on their deathbed that was found in a recent podcast, right, is people that literally had said on their deathbed, I wish I had chosen to live the life that I wanted and the purpose I wanted to make versus the life that people told me I should do, right? So I believe failure is something done by 1,000 cuts. It's the bad habits by 1,000 cuts. It's the, how else do I say it here? It's the mediocrity by 1,000 cuts. It's the small limiting beliefs and limited thinking that we tell ourselves and subscribe to, because let's just be real, like most of the world, 80-90% is filled with a lot of kind of like doubt, despair, just comfort zone, status quo. So it's natural inherently to be surrounded by a lot of just kind of like simple thinking, small minded thinking. That doesn't mean they're bad people. They just haven't put themselves in a position to actually understand there's a life beyond that. There's an energy and a vibration beyond just themselves. Right? But because we're surrounded so much by that, it's literally those people that hold most of you back. They're good intention people. Good intention doesn't mean quality advice. And I learned that so early on, and I'm thankful that I learned that, because we wouldn't be where we are. See, I didn't have an environment where I had all these people I could turn to on like success and business and finance and fitness and everything else. I didn't. And I love my family. I love my friends. I love people that I grew up with, and they all framed who I am today. But I had to seek that information because it wasn't how I grew up. It wasn't who I grew around. And so this is why I've wanted to build this for everyone here, is because I want to create an opportunity for you to have access to this information, even if it's just personally, like through my story, you can hear, even though you've never met me before, like this is what you have to do to get beyond your situation, because I don't believe success has any respect of a person, meaning that I believe if you truly believe you can put yourself in a position to have the success you want, the universe will reward you, not for your thoughts, not for your intentions. It will reward you for your action if you can reframe your mind around fear and realize that you're actually more afraid of success than you are of failure. And if you can start to outweigh that in your mind and realize, hey, how can I get over my fear of success? You will start to take the actions and the habits, putting yourself in a position to actually get the life that you dreamed of. So until next time, we'll see you on the next episode. Got some exciting stuff to cover, but hope you enjoyed this. Share the show. Maybe if it's with another cup of Joe. This is where winners learn to be great. Built for the cold, you say? That damn straight. The lessons, the love, the insights from above. Hope you take them and grow, even with another cup of Joe. Thank you for dropping in and listening to the show.